Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Daily Devotional. So our devotional is going to come from an article that was posted back on the 6th that was updated 2 days ago. The title of it is Texas Plumber Who Found Cash in Lakewood Wall Upset with Joel Osteen Should Have Heard Something. For those of you who haven't heard, there apparently several years ago there was a robbery at Joel Osteen's church. Couple $100,000 was taken in cash and checks, and come to find out a whole bunch of it, if not all of it, was actually hidden inside a wall in a bathroom somehow. I don't know. That's not really the point. But the plumber is the one who was working on the toilet and found all this stuff stuck in the wall behind some tile. So the Texas plumber who found cash in a wall in preacher Joel Osteen's Lakewood church says he's upset that no one from the church has contacted him. I wanted to hear Joel Osteen say, "You know, Justin, what you did was right. We understand what you did and what you could have done," in that he could have not said anything and just taken all the cash. The man said after attending a service held by Osteen on Sunday. The man has only been identified as Justin. "I feel like at this point I should have heard something," he said. "I'm just a little upset." And the rest of this article is about kind of the situation behind the theft and so forth. Well, there's an update. Upset plumber who found cash at Joel Osteen's Lakewood church finally gets reward. The Texas plumber who found cash stashed in the walls of Joel Osteen's Lakewood church will be rewarded with $20,000 for coming forward with the discovery. There was $200,000 in cash and $400,000 in checks that was stolen from the wall safe, or church safe, and it's unclear how much money was actually discovered in the walls. But again, he could have not said anything and just run off with it. Apparently, there was a $20,000 reward at the time. Crime Stoppers of Houston is a public safety organization, yada yada. In 2014, Lakewood Church gave us $20,000 to work on this case. In 2016, they chose to gift us those funds for operations. Today, we are gifting that same amount of money to this Good Samaritan and wishing he and his family a wonderful holiday season. And then Justin said in another interview earlier this week, he was upset that he hadn't heard anything. "I wanted to hear you say you did what was right." A publicist for Lakewood told Fox News later Wednesday that Justin was invited to Lakewood Church to meet with Osteen this weekend, noting Joel would love to meet him. The church has also released a statement on the reward Tuesday, saying they hope Justin pays the gift forward. "We're appreciative of the plumber, and we hope he pays the gift forward," the church said in a statement on Tuesday. All right. So you've got this Good Samaritan plumber who could very well have just run off with whatever was in those envelopes, again, however much money that was, ignoring for the moment how it got there and the whole situation behind it. The plumber did a good thing. Okay, he turned it in. He immediately told the people at the church building, I guess, and whatnot. But then he's upset because he hasn't heard anything from the church for a couple of days, and he's a little upset because he wanted to hear Joel Osteen say, "What you did was right. We understand what you did and what you could have done. You could have run off with the money, but you didn't." And it sounds like he even went to a service held by Osteen on Sunday, maybe to hear him say that to Justin. And the fact that, let's see, where is the reference to the Good Samaritan? Yeah, today we're gifting the same this Good Samaritan and wishing he and his family a wonderful holiday season. All right, I want you to think about that for a minute. The example of the Good Samaritan is one who shows mercy to those who need mercy shown. That's one of the things that Jesus was teaching. Who is my neighbor? And the Good Samaritan was one who was willing to give of himself, to give of his own time, his own money, to help some person that he had no connection to be able to help that person recover from being beaten on the side of the road. He didn't expect any praise in return. He didn't expect any reward in return. And even when Jesus talks about this in Matthew chapter 6 and in verse 1, this is, of course, this is not the Good Samaritan parable, but this is part of the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus says in Matthew 6 verse 1, "Take heed that you do not do your charitable deeds before men to be seen by them. Otherwise, you have no reward from your Father in heaven. Therefore, when you do a charitable deed, do not sound a trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory from men. Assuredly, I say to you, they have their reward. But when you do a charitable deed, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, that your charitable deed may be in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will himself reward you openly. Now, I'm not necessarily, I'm not condemning the plumber. I mean, what he did was a good thing. He could very well have run off with the money. And it's very possible that, I mean, a lot of times plumbers and people who are in manual labor like that, they don't have a lot of money anyway. And so it may have very well have been a very strong temptation to run off with that money. And the fact that he did turn it in is noble. And that's good. And of course, there's nothing to say. There's nothing in here about if he's religious at all, even if he attends the Lakewood Church. We don't know. But I think it's worth noting that there's a difference between doing a good deed, doing something that's good, and when you could have done something bad, and then seeking attention for it, or at least affirmation that you did the right thing, versus doing a good deed that you know is right for the sake of doing a good deed. Not for the sake of receiving praise for it, not for the sake of receiving a reward for it, but for the fact that it was a good deed. Again, the Good Samaritan, the example of the Good Samaritan, he wasn't doing that to be seen of men. He wasn't doing that for any kind of his own profit or purpose. He did it because there was this person who needed mercy, and he was willing to show it. And he didn't expect anything in return. And when Jesus says to do your charitable deeds, that you do not do your charitable deeds before men to be seen by them. Sometimes you do charitable deeds and it's gonna be seen, and that's fine. But you kind of have an Ananias and Sapphira type of situation where they did it. Not only did they lie, but their purpose in doing it was as if they wanted to be seen by the brethren. They wanted praise from the brethren. Oh, look at how much you've sacrificed. Look at what you're willing to do, how righteous you are. And it's as if they wanted verification. They wanted affirmation. And again, I'm not trying to poke fun at or try to shame this guy, this plumber. I mean, like I said, he could probably definitely use the money, I'm sure. But as a Christian, as individuals who are seeking to serve God, if we were in that situation, I would hope we would do exactly the same thing that the plumber did and turn the money in, inform whoever's in charge, hey, I found this stuff in the wall. I don't know what in the world it's doing there, but it's yours, so here you go. But then I hope that we would just let it go at that. Because according to the first article, I didn't highlight this, I don't think, but according to the first article, I think he informed some news outlet. Yeah, so he went on a radio show, and he talked about the fact that this is what happened. I'm not sure how they found out about it. I can't remember. But the point is that would we have just let it go? And then if whoever it was that we found this money in decided to give us a reward for it, I mean, we could say yes or no to that. But, would we draw attention to ourselves, I guess is the question. Would we be willing to not seek attention and not seek praise or verification or affirmation for what we did? And it's kind of an interesting situation, especially in a society that is consistently seeking affirmation. It seems as though one of the baseline, rudimentary, fundamental ways in which people value themselves is how they're considered by other people. And in our society, that seems to be the kind of the effort is to make it where, or the effort is to be valued by others. Therefore, I have value. Not that there is a God who is watching and is going to reward even things that are done in secret, the good things that are done in secret, but rather seek affirmation and verification from others. And if our value, or if our self-value and our self-esteem is tied up in what other people think of me and receiving praise from other people, then we're not going to have any roots in ourselves to stand up for the truth. Because ultimately, standing up for the truth is going to be at odds with receiving praise from man. And one way or the other, and sometimes even as Christians, with other Christians, standing up for the truth is at odds with receiving praise from brethren. And that can be a very difficult thing to go through. And yet, we're called to make sure our charitable deeds, the things that we do, that we're not seeking praise for them. There have been several occasions that I'm aware of, and I'm aware of it because I was the preacher in the situation. That there were anonymous contributions given to certain brethren who were in need, and when these brethren asked, well, who was it? I was told to say that it was just one of your brethren who is aware of your situation, and they don't want to draw attention to themselves. They just want you to know that they love you, and that's it, and they didn't want to be praised for it. They didn't want any special attention for it, but they wanted to help their brother or sister in a situation. And there have been several occasions where that's happened. And I just, and that's not to say that that has to be that way. I'm not saying that, but I just think that it's a very interesting comparison or contrast, I guess you could say, to a situation like this. And situations like this we see all the time in our society, where people want attention, or they want attention, they want praise for things that they've done. And we just have to be aware of that. That's the way society is, but that's not the way we should be. That Jesus wants us to, as he says here in Matthew chapter 6, in verse 3, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Okay, don't draw undue attention to it yourself, and thereby draw undue attention to it from others. As if what you're doing should be praised by men. And if people know about it, we should. It's not to say we shouldn't praise people for doing good things. We should. But it should be unsolicited praise. And certainly if we're praised for doing a good thing, we should be humble and so forth, and accept the thanks or whatever that we're receiving. But to keep in mind that, I did it because I could. I did it because it was a good thing to do, not because I felt like I had to, and not because I wanted to be praised for it. I did it because it was what was right. All right, that's the Daily Devotional for you today. Lord willing, we'll have our next Daily Devotional tomorrow at 6:30. Hope to see you all then. Thanks, everybody.